going to get you on. Hello, this is Elizabeth Claire Brewington, and I'm with Brightside Global Trade TV. We have to really sit and reflect on 9/11 and what it meant to each of us. But we have today a 9/11 survivor, and she has served this country, the U.S. Air Force, and she is here to tell us her story. So over to you, Colonel Donna Fore.
Thank you, Claire, for that generous introduction. I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. We've got a really great turnout. And thanks to all my family for showing up. You know, one thing about our family is we do show up for each other. So thank you all for being here. And is Jackie still on the Jackie, the British lady?
Yeah, I
Is
think
she
she's
still
there.
on?
I
I
think
just
she's
wanted
there.
to thank her for coming because, okay. Oh, she left. Okay. Well, I'll have to get with her later, but I just wanted to tell her that I was stationed in England for several years at RAF Upper Hayford and had a great assignment and made a lot of friends and had just a beautiful experience touring the England and Scotland. Couldn't go to Ireland because the IRA was unfortunately a little too active up that way, so they wouldn't let us go over to Ireland. But other than that, I saw a lot of the countryside. So welcome, everybody. Some of you have heard my story before. So for a few of you that haven't, especially my family, I hope I won't bore you again with what I'm about to relate to you. But I just thought it was important that we take a moment to step back to process the fact that 3,000 people died on September 11th, 2001, all in one day. That's a lot of people to lose in the biggest terrorist attack on US soil. So it's important we take time to reflect on what really happened, who did it, how we're going to tell the generations to come what we know about the event. That's one of my challenges to you today. Tell someone too young to have been around on September 11, 2001, what really happened, where you were, what you experienced, whatever fears or anxiety you had, and tell them how our country fought back, how we fought back. And then, as we know, eventually we got to the head of the organization that perpetrated the attack, which was Osama bin Laden. So relate that story, relate who did it, and how it's important that we understand the lessons from 9/11. I hope that you'll do that. So I was in the Air Force for 30 years. My culminating assignment was at the Pentagon. I was a senior officer by then. I was working on what's called the Air Staff, which is the senior part of the Air Force organization that was headquartered at the Pentagon. I was an intelligence officer and I worked for a two-star general officer who was the head of Air Force intelligence. On 9/11, I got to the Pentagon early, just like everybody does. Almost everybody gets there, you know, between 6 and 6:30. I'd taken a bus in that day, so I didn't have my own vehicle. That's going to be important later on, but just so you know kind of how my day rolled out. So I get off the bus, I'm walking up into the Pentagon. It's a beautiful, bright blue sky, you know, just a picture perfect day. The dawn is just coming on the horizon. And there's like a little crisp of cold air in the, you know, it's like almost fall feeling day. It was an early fall feeling day, just a gorgeous day. And of course, within a few hours, you know, everything changed dramatically. So my first inkling that something was going on was I got a phone call from the secretary for the general I worked for. Her name was Frances Wood, Frances Woods. So Frances calls me up and she says, get over here. It's important. You come to the general's office. I thought I was in trouble. So I really didn't want to race over there. I kind of took my time going over there. And then I got there. She's not at her desk. She's inside of his office watching a TV set because he has a pretty big office. And I said, what's going on? She said, look at that TV set. And the first plane had gone into, you know, the first tower, you know, at the World Trade Center. And I said, Frances, that doesn't make any sense. How does a big plane of that size get lost in the middle of downtown New York? She said, I don't know. What do you think? So we're talking and kind of exchanging, you know, whatever ideas we had. And then the second plane, you know, impacts the North Tower. And I said, Frances, where is the general? She said, I think he's down the hall at a meeting with so-and-so. I said, go find him. We're under attack. She said, you think so? I said, yeah, I'm pretty sure we're under attack. This is not normal. Someone is trying to bring us down. So she runs off, and then I realize, okay, I should call my late husband because he's probably at home. He doesn't realize that something big's going on. So now at this point, I think everything's going on in New York City. I have no inkling that something may happen in any other part of America, real going on with these planes impacting these towers. And he said, Donna, that's not normal. I said, I know, I think that there's some kind of unbelievable attack underway, but I can't figure out exactly what's going on. So we're chatting, and then suddenly, the plane hits the Pentagon, the flight that hit the Pentagon, Flight 77. So I told him, I said, I think we've been bombed. I got to go. Goodbye. I just hung up on him. I didn't say I love you or, something like you might say if you think you're in danger. I just knew I had to get off the phone and take care of business. So there are people in the office I work in, not a big group, but there is a work group in there. So I tell them that we should probably exit the office and see what's going on. The vibration was so strong, it felt like a large earthquake. It felt like the building had moved. It was like it went da-dun, 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 like something like it had moved itself or shifted. It didn't, of course, it just felt that way because of that big plane hitting the building. It sent out shock waves throughout the whole building. It pushed me back across the room, and of course I dropped the phone that I'd been talking to with my husband on. But so we get everybody out of this office space I'm in, and then I lock the door. I don't know why, it seems stupid now, but it was just part of a protocol of leaving the office. And as I try and enter the hallway, there's such a big herd of people coming from my right that I can't actually insert myself into them. They're just jammed together like this, trying to all get to an exit, because the hallway outside my office is fairly narrow. It's not one of the wide ones on the lower levels because I'm up on the 4th floor. And I can smell and see some smoke. And it smelled like JP4, because anyone that's been in the service knows what aviation fuel smells like. But I thought, I'm still not thinking it could have been a plane. I'm still thinking it must be some kind of bomb. And eventually I can kind of inch my way into this big crowd, and we exit the building. And by now there's a lot of people accumulating out in the parking lot. So my first instance was, maybe I can go back in. Maybe I should go help people, but they don't want people going back in the building because, it's not safe. So they keep pushing us to go out into the parking lot. So eventually I find the work group I'm supposed to be with. The Pentagon has so many bomb threats on a weekly basis that we have an organized plan for every time the bomb threat hits, where we should go, what we should do. We have checklists, all that stuff. So I get to my work group. We all take a quick accounting of each other. Is everybody here? Does everybody know where everybody else is at? Because some people weren't with us. They were at meetings, and we were just praying that they weren't on the western side of the building that was hit. I was on the eastern side. Thank goodness that's where the air staff was located. After we've been outside for about 30 minutes, 2 really significant things happened that kind of unnerved us a little bit. So now we're beginning to hear people talk at the front of the building, and it's getting back to us in this big crowd that a plane hit. So now we understand, okay, there was another plane out there that we didn't know about. And I never got alerted to leave the building. People said they heard an evacuation order at the Pentagon. We never heard one. We just left the building because we thought it was the right thing to do. And also the loudspeaker system in the Pentagon wasn't working. That was another problem with 9/11, is we didn't have a good, effective way to notify people when there was a major incident at the Pentagon. People would often find out through just knocking on somebody's door and say, hey, you're supposed to leave the building. It was kind of crazy, but that's the status of things at that time. So after we've been outside for a few minutes, we hear some large sonic booms. And immediately I realized, okay, they have now scrambled the F-16s of the DC Air National Guard. That's what that sound was, because anybody's been in the Air Force knows what a sonic boom sounds like when a plane takes off and hits the afterburner. So I can't see them yet, but I know they're there. And then we start seeing them circling the Pentagon. So I'm thinking, oh my God, do they think another plane's coming? Why would they scramble these air defense fighters if they didn't think any more were coming? So all this is all going on at the same time. Then a large explosion happens near the same area where the impact was. And what had happened was there was a helicopter pad to bring in distinguished visitors to the Pentagon, whether it's the president or the vice president or whoever it is. There's fuel stored beneath that helicopter pad. So the fire had moved far enough that it now hit the helicopter pad and all those fuel bladders blew up. So things are getting more and more strange, more things are blowing up and the roof is beginning to get on fire and it's spreading through the roof line. And so it's just getting more and more unnerving. Now, I know this is going to sound strange. We actually thought we were going back into the building. We thought that whatever was happening, they could control it and we'd just go back in a few hours and everything would be fine. Well, that's not what happened, because obviously it was a lot worse than we could realize, because we could not see the full impact area, only a section of it. So we wait for hours to get some word. And eventually they just keep pushing us further and further away from the building, because they're concerned about now this fire getting out of control and it hurting us in some way. So eventually it gets bad enough that they push us over to Pentagon City. Now, for those who aren't familiar with the Northern Virginia area or the Pentagon area, there's this area across the I-395 from the Pentagon called Pentagon City. And it's a place where there's shops and apartments and all kinds of business enterprise over there. Large mall of types over there as well. So we're pushed over there just to kind of get us out of the way. We keep asking if we can go forward because we want to help and see if we can get our friends out. But by now there's so many first responders there that they really don't want our help. They think that we're going to be more of a problem than help. So eventually so many hours have gone by that they realize that there's no way they can let us back into the building. So we're told, hey, if you can get home, just get home. I remember I took the bus, but fortunately I had grabbed my purse and I had some change in my pocket. That becomes more important later. And so I thought, okay, how am I going to get myself out of here? I have no vehicle. The work group I had been hanging out with all day, these same people that I was supposed to be, responsible for in a sense of any kind of an emergency, they're still together. And one of the individuals there says, hey, and they won't let people back into the Pentagon parking lot. Remember, we're over at Pentagon City because it's kind of become a giant crime scene. They won't let people get their vehicles. They just say, hey, you got to get home any way you can, but you can't come in here. It's not safe. Well, my friend, his vehicle was right on the edge of the Pentagon parking lot. And I said, let's go talk to this cop, see if he'll let you take your vehicle out. So we go up to the DC cop and he says, he looks around, okay, take your vehicle and get out of here. So he has a very large vehicle. We all pile into it. There's about 7 of us. We're in there like this in his vehicle. And I said, listen, you can't take me home. I live over an hour away. He said, don't worry, let me get these other folks home because they live kind of in the DC, Northern Virginia area. And then we'll worry about you last. I said, yeah, take me home last. So eventually I tell him, I said, listen, I think you can get me to the Springfield Metro. The metro station is going to be a convenient place for me to wait and try and get a hold of my husband. See, by now, none of the cell phones worked in any of the area. Cell phone service was cut off because of the system just failed because so many people were calling on their cell phones. It just got saturated, just shut down. And that went on for a long time, mostly into the night. I think sometime the next morning, my cell phone finally worked. So now I can't call my husband. I have to be dropped at a metro station, which is really far from the Pentagon and not close to where I lived, right? If you know that area at all. So, but the Springfield Metro is a big metro stop. So I knew he could find me. So as I walk into the Springfield Metro, I spy something that really makes me happy. It's an old-fashioned payphone. I said, oh, great, now I can call my husband because I have this change in my pocket, right? So I call him on this payphone and I said, hey, I'm alive. I'm at the Springfield Metro. Do you think you can come and get me? He said, yeah, but he said, the traffic right now is really, it's apocalyptic. I mean, he said, it's just not moving. I said, I know, I'm prepared to stay here for as long as possible. I said, please call my mom and my dad right away and my family, let them know I'm alive. Because I knew they were watching that same footage and they probably thought Donna's right there where the fire is. I wasn't, of course, but they didn't know that. So he did. And he also called my mother-in-law. She had been frantic and thought I was also dead. So that phone call from that metro station was amazing because a lot of people thought I was dead. And then they knew I was still alive. And that was a comfort to know that they'd been notified. So So I wait and I wait and I wait, and finally my husband can get there to the Springfield Metro. Now, as I had been breaking up from this little work group I've been hanging out with all day, these wonderful little people I worked with, they said, hey, we've been told that we're going to get phone calls tonight. So don't come to work until you get your phone call. And I said, okay, I'll be ready. And when I got my phone call, it was right about midnight. I was still up. I was too pumped from the events of the day to go to bed. And it said, are you Colonel Fore? I said, yes, it's Colonel Fore. And it said, here's your instructions. You're to get to the Pentagon just as early as you can in the morning. And you are to wear your battle dress uniform. That's your fatigues, BDUs. And we are at war. I said, okay. Message received. So I got up at 4 a.m, caught that bus I was used to riding, and it got me to the Pentagon around 6. And so let me describe what I saw when I got there. The building is still on fire. When I walk into the entrance I normally use from the bus, the roof is on fire. I said, okay, I'm walking into a burning building. Okay, what's up with that? So I just military, just follow orders. So I went into the building. When I get in there, the building is just devastating to see. There's black soot on every wall, every ceiling, every floor. It's like the building was fighting for its life, right? I was imagining the heroism of these firefighters fighting this fire all night long, and the dedication, the danger they were in, right? Water is everywhere. There's debris everywhere. It's just awful to see what the building looked like when I got, there's no power. Weirdly enough, some parts of the building had power. I was fortunate because I was on the intelligence staff. We had some power from a generator, but a lot of the building is dark and it's dirty and it's full of debris. I was a little concerned about getting to my office because of the stuff that was in the hallway. So at one point I kind of changed my normal route so I could avoid some of those corridors that looked a little scary because I couldn't see what was in there because of the darkness. And as I'm trying to process what's going on, I decide maybe I should go out to the courtyard for a minute and collect my thoughts. The courtyard is this center area where, people normally go out there to, unfortunately smoke. That was the smoking area for the Pentagon. And then it was also a place where people went and they could visit with their friends or have a sandwich or, just kind of get away from their office for a few minutes. But as I look out there, again, the sun's just coming up. It's pretty early morning. I see some movement, and every entrance to that outside area has been padlocked with big, thick chains. They didn't want anybody going out there. And what I see next is the reason why. So there are people stacking body bags full of the people that perished at the Pentagon, whether they were on the plane or some of the people that worked at the Pentagon. And it dawns on me at that moment, my building has become a morgue for these poor souls that have lost their lives. And throughout the day, they began to slowly move them away and they went to where they were supposed to go. But just for that first overnight experience, they had to put them somewhere. They had no place to take them. So they put them in that center courtyard. But that scene still haunts me, of all those body bags and all those poor souls that committed no crime. They just got in a plane at Dulles to go somewhere, right? Or they just came to work that morning. Or they just came to a meeting. They may not even been assigned to the Pentagon. They just came to a meeting and then lost their lives, right? So that's my experience. Of course, after that, the days got long. I didn't take a day off until sometime in late 2002. We worked every day, Saturday, Sunday, holidays. On Thanksgiving Day of 2001, I cooked a meal for my husband, and my nephew by then had joined the Marine Corps because of 9/11. He was at Quantico getting trained. So he and his Marine buddies came to my apartment. I cooked him a meal and then I went back to work. So, and that went on and on and on and on and on. Again, I didn't get a break till late 2002. So, so I end my story with this. Please don't let those 3,000 lives go forgotten. Remember these families in your own prayers and at your churches. And then just continue to tell the story to younger people, because they won't know what happened that day except if a teacher tells them or a parent. And hopefully you as parents or grandparents can tell them this story and tell them how important it is to know that 3,000 lives were lost at the altar of freedom. And it was all because of a group called Al Qaeda with a mastermind of Osama bin Laden, who thankfully Al Qaeda has been dismantled for the most part. It's not completely gone, but it's been dismantled. And of course, Osama bin Laden met his fate at the hands of the US military. So I thank you for your time. And if anybody has a question, please feel free to ask me. Thank you very much.
Gosh, Donna, you tell that story. What an amazing experience. I would like at this time, if we just take a moment of silence to remember, reflect, and to acknowledge the huge sacrifices many of our brave men and women have contributed, and the reason America is America. A moment of silence, please. Okay, that's good. Thank you so much. You know, the idea of America and what America represents, and you know, the huge sacrifices that many Americans have made, and the names that will go and be recognized and still continue to be recognized, and the people that contribute so much each day, each year for our freedoms. And we take a moment to recognize all the men and women who served in the military, and we remember you and we're thankful. You know, this is a very strategic and infinitely important time as we reflect. And each one of you represents so much. And Donna, your contributions and this personal reflection, you know, I worked as a contractor for a defense contractor, and we would have to go to the Pentagon from time to time, and I would sell defense contracts. But this is so important, it's so strategic. And it means to help us to reflect that each one of us, Americans, we stand for America. We are proud to be American, and we can do all that we can for the people that we love and care for. And your contribution goes a long way, goes a very long way. And this time to reflect, and Claire had mentioned, and country building, community building, and people building, and which kingdom building. All these things are so vital for the idea that we hold so true. And these times are important. And so, but it is important and essential that we take times like these to let us know and understand that this is important. This is important, and we have great gifts to give. We all have such important and wonderful gifts to give. And don't be afraid, and don't be shy, and don't be, put back on your ability to give gifts, to do great things for your community, and to be empowered. And somebody, I heard a talk show asked, and the question was, what's the thing that you have done recently that you were terrified to do? What's the thing that you've done recently that you were terrified to do, but you did anyway? You did it anyway because it was just something that needed to be done. And so, and all the people that lost their lives, and they had no idea that their gifts or their sacrifice would have so much meaning today, tomorrow, and the years to come. So I just want to take this time to recognize what a tremendous story, Donna. That was important, and it was so vital to hear. Yeah. It was so vital to hear. I mean, and as I'm listening to you and what you did, and what people had to do, and the fears they had to face, and we don't know how wonderful and how beneficial our gifts will be. We don't know how they'll land, and we don't know, the people that will benefit from them. But we do what we have to do because it's the gift that God has given us to give. It's the gift that God has given us to give, and the benefit or the benefactors, it'll all come out in His time. It'll all be revealed in His time. So, with these words in this moment, in this time, I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged. I'm inspired. I'm, just, come on, we can do great things. We can do even greater things. We can be encouraged to stand up even when no one's watching. And that's when you really take the steps that are important to be taken, because if not you, who? If not now, when? And so this is important to know, and don't be scared. Don't be scared. When it's your time, it's your time, and that's that.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah.
Thank you, Colonel Donna Fore.
Any questions?
Just listening to your story is just, it just makes my skin crawl. So thank you for your service, and thank you for surviving. That's very important that you survived and here to tell us the story. So thank you. I think everybody should give her a salute, don't you think?
A royal salute.
A royal salute.
The idea that America is America.
Is there anyone in this room that has also experienced 9/11?
I would like to share, Donna and I have shared our stories because I was in Lower Manhattan when we were under attack, and I was only 2 buildings from the World Trade Center. But I left Church Street running for my life. And many of us were running for our lives. Our families didn't know where we were, whether we were still alive. And I thank God for sparing our lives, Donna, because many of our colleagues did not make it out. So I just wanted to share that with you because 9/11 is very special to us. It makes me quiver. Sometimes I still cry uncontrollably because we lost so many dear, dear friends. We didn't see them ever again, but God spared our life. And we are so, so grateful.
I am grateful too. Yes, go ahead, Bill. Go.
Yes, my heartfelt sympathy goes out to Brenda and Donna and everyone else that has been close to it all. I had an experience on 9/11 that was related to the Pentagon, but I wasn't there. I was at O'Hare International Airport in Chicago on a plane, taxiing for the runway that was to be going to DC National Airport, where I was to be giving a briefing in the Pentagon on the afternoon of 9/11. And if you all know O'Hare Airport in Chicago, at one point it was the busiest airport in the world. I don't know that it's second or third or fourth now, but they move things along there at that airport. And I had traveled back and forth to the Pentagon on numerous instances over the years. And this was just one of another. And we were taxiing on the runway, and we got to the end of the runway and turned onto the runway to take off. And usually they'll stop short for a few seconds before they give it the throttles and take off. And they did that this time too. And then it was 30 seconds where we were stopped. And that's really unusual to be sitting on the end of a runway for anything more than 15, 20 seconds, and then 2 minutes, then 3 minutes, then 4 minutes, sitting on the end of that runway waiting to take off. And then finally the pilot comes over the intercom and said, you're probably wondering what's going on. And he says, all traffic, not just here at O'Hare, but across the country has been grounded. And then they piped the radio into the aircraft, and so we could listen to what was going on, to our horror. And so about 4 hours later, they finally let us off the plane. I thought still I'd be going that afternoon to the Pentagon, maybe on a later flight. Of course, that didn't happen. Anyhow, I had the easy part of that day compared to you all. And I applaud you for your heroism on those days.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you all. Yeah. Anyone else would like to share before we close out the segment?
I have an idea, and it's important that we take the power and the strength of this moment in time and reflect on it to help us just streamline us forward. Streamline, because it's the experiences that we go through that give us the power for the next experiences. And it also brings us truer to form about who we are. And as a collective generation of people, as a collective unity of people, we all count. We all count. And we all are magnificent in our own way. And we all have so much to offer, to reflect on, and to give. And I just feel that it's important that we take this moment to use the experiences that we have gone through to help us, power us through. You know how you're sitting on the ramp, and as Bill said too, you're about to take off, the runway's clear, and you're just about to mash the gas to go. That's where we're at now. I want this moment to help us mash the gas to go. Full throttle, full frame, full capacity. Don't be afraid. Think about your future. You're about to take off. And there's nothing that can stand in your way. Nothing, absolutely nothing, because what you've gone through says it all.
Yeah.
What you've experienced says it all. What you've, I hate to use this word because there's so much word about entitlement, but you're entitled to the victories that you're going to claim. You're entitled to the victories that you're going to claim. And we stand here with you as a body and a unity and a collection of people to help you claim it, and to put your grip on your future the way you want to. So, and I'll say that as we start with our moment, and you're going to see the buildup of energy and spirit grow as we're talking after I've said this simple prayer. Let us pray. We thank you, kind Father, for your grace and everlasting mercy. And we thank you for the gifts that you've given to us, the power and the strength that you've allowed us to experience. And we claim now the victories that we're due. We claim them because you've gotten us through so many other things that we're going to go through even greater things, capturing greater elements of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We thank you for those victories right now, and we ask that you give us the power to be comrades, to be formidable, to encourage each other, to help us see into tomorrow with an incredible vision, with incredible capacity, and we claim that. We claim that. And the rest of the program today, we ask that you just infuse us with this overwhelming energy and sense of purpose that just gets us on and on and on. In your name we pray, and we claim the victory. In the name of Jesus. Hallelujah. Amen.
Amen.
Woo! Woo!
Does anyone want to say anything?
Oh yeah. Oh
All
yeah.
right.
I feel that.
Well, thank you.
I feel that. Yeah.
Thank you, Colonel Donna Fore. We are really grateful because I know Donna and I have been on this journey, and it hasn't been easy for her to talk about this.
Right.
It's almost taken 3, maybe 5 years for her to get to this point where she can share this story. It has been a very difficult journey. So I really applaud you for your courage to talk about it. It's not been an easy journey, I know, but we are very grateful that you came back. So thank you. Thank you.
All right.